Hey y'all, I thought I'd tell you a couple of construction stories. One's about my brother Steve. This was about 25 years ago. 25 years ago, I can't remember how. It's been quite a while. Now, my brother Steve, he was dating this gal who they later on became married, but they weren't married here yet. They were just dating. And we was building a house over in Staten. And they was working up on the roof. It's Ollie and my brother Steve and Ollie were working up the roof, and I think there was somebody else that was working for me at the time too. Can't remember, but anyway. Now, when you roll truss, before you roll the truss on your walls, you do what we call plumbing line. All the walls get everything, braced off straight and true and everything. Because when you set the truss on the walls and then you sheet everything, things ain't going to move. If you do it properly, things won't move. So you do it before you roll the truss. Well, we had it all plumbing lined. And if a wall is bowed out, let's say, and you want to pull the wall on in, we'll take a 2x4 that's, say, 14, 16 feet long, and we'll bring it up flat ways and nail it to the top of the plate up here, and bring the bottom one down here, and we'll nail it to the floor. So you got this brace going up and down like this, but you want to pull it on in, so we put a kicker in here, and we bow this on out, and that pulls that wall on in. And when you get that kicker right in the place where you want, then you put a toenail down on the floor and you put a nail up through the brace, through the top of the brace down this way, into your kicker. And we leave the nail stick out a half inch or something like that, to be able to make it, pull it easier, when you're all done rolling the truck to get your sheeting on, you want to pull your braces. Well, my brother Steve, came lunchtime, and his present today wife, his girlfriend then, came there. I think she was bringing him lunch or something, or they were going out, I don't remember. But anyway, my brother Steve, he comes shimmying on down off that brace. Now, why he didn't take the ladder? Why didn't he just jump down? I don't know. But he straddled that brace and he comes shimmying on down. And with him straddled on that brace, that nail on the top of that kicker, wall hit cut just right there, with his tippy toes just barely touching the ground, and he hung up on that. And you can imagine what he hung up on that. So anyway, we named that nail there Steve's Hang Nail, because it left him hanging until we lifted him out of it. I thought you all might get a kick out of that story. And there's some other stories. When I was up north, I built a duplex for some people, and the duplex went up rather quick, a lot quicker than they expected it to go on up. And when we got all done, the builder only wanted to pay us half the money as what he agreed to pay us. And I asked him, I said, well, is there a problem with the workmanship? He said, no, there's no problem, like what you did. But you got it up so fast, I only need to pay you half the amount, and you still make good money. I said, no, that was not the agreement. Well, he him-hawed around and just kept on saying he didn't have the money, etc., etc. So after about 3 days, I was getting steamed. He said, to me, a deal's a deal. Yeah, I went out there and I confronted him again. I said, dude, you got to pay me up the rest of that money. He said, well, I ain't got the money. I can't afford to pay you anyway. I just don't have it. At this time, the plumbers and the electricians were in the house. The plumbers were just about done. The electricians were getting along pretty good on in there with their wiring. And this duplex, it was all T111 siding, you know, on the outside of it. And what room do you think has the most work on in it? The kitchen, of course, has the most plumbing and wiring in there. You're going to do the most damage. So he says he didn't have the money. I went and got my chainsaw, fired it up, walked right into that kitchen, slammed that chainsaw right through the outside wall, T111 studs, plumbing, wiring. I just started walking it down through there, just ripping it loose. I tell you what, for somebody that didn't have no money, it was amazing how many $100 bills he had in his pocket. They just started flying on out. And he was still about, if I remember, like $1,200 short. And I told him, I said, well, you got 30 minutes to get to the bank and back. Well, I'm firing up this chainsaw again. Well, by God, right at 30 minutes, there he comes flying back with the 1200. And of course, I had to fire up the chainsaw just to kind of let him know I wasn't joking around. Then he had the audacity to ask me to fix the damage that was there. And I said, that will be an extra fee, and I get paid in advance for that. So anyway, that's all that. Another time we was working on a job down in Springfield, me and Ollie. And on this particular job, I got two good stories to tell. Anyway, I had another story to tell about Ollie too, but anyway, this job on down there, they had a guy up there with a staple gun. You know, when we frame the walls, we frame them laying down, put the sheeting on the walls, everything with the walls laying on down. Then we stand it on up and brace it up, using wall jacks and stuff usually if the wall's a big wall. But at your corners, when you do that, you can't put the corner sheets of plywood on the one corner because it overlaps the two walls. So we'd have to go up second, third. This was a 3-story apartment complex that we were building down in Springfield several years ago. And anyway, somebody would have to go around the outside of it on a step ladder or extension ladder, get up there, pack a piece of plywood up there, and nail it in place and staple it up. Well, this guy was out there working, and boss came on by and seen him up there, you know, in this corner, putting up stapling that piece of plywood. About 2 hours later, the boss walks on by again. Sees the same guy in this exact same place. And he hollers up there, what's going on? What are you doing? What's taking you so long? And the guy was mumbled something. You couldn't quite hear him. And so Blaine told me, you know, go see what he's saying. So I went on over to hollered out the window close to him. Hey, what's going on? Why are you taking so long? He says, I stapled my butt cheeks together and I can't go down the ladder. Well, when he was stapling off with the staple gun, he reached it around to pass it behind him so the hose wouldn't go in front of him, to grab it with his other hand. And when he pulled it back around, he had his finger on the trigger, and he touched the safety to his butt cheeks, and, well, the staple went on through both butt cheeks. And you can imagine when you're trying to go up or down the ladder, your butt cheeks are doing this motion. And when they're stapled together, just don't do that. So we had to lift the guy down with a forklift. Oh man, that guy never heard the end of it. But the story I got to tell you about Ollie, it's not quite that funny. It's just humorous to those of us. My first name is Stan, and Ollie is Oliveris is his last name. So he was always known as Stanley and Ollie. And we was quite a team, quite a character cut up together and stuff. Had a lot of fun building together. One of these days I'll remember some more of the stories to tell about him. Don't think of any offhand. Oh, one story he wanted me to, I talked to him here, I talked to Ollie a few days ago. He wanted me to tell you this story. I don't know if I've already told this on YouTube or not, but it's a good one. those same apartments we was framing on up, we had this one guy that was put on our crew that he wasn't very productive. Matter of fact, most of the guys that they gave us, we had to do a lot of training to get them to where they could do much. Well, they had originally started out, it was just me and Greg, and we was doing a heck of a lot of work. I wouldn't even get into telling you what just the two of us were doing. And then they started dumping more and more workers on there to make it easier for us, but it started slowing down our production in the long run, so they had to give us more workers to try to make up that time. Well, I kept on saying, don't give us more, let me get rid of these guys, let me go back the way it was. But anyway, he didn't want us working that hard. Well, this one guy, I got in this video, I got to stop, phone call, I'll be right back with you. Anyway, that was just my wife calling. Anyway, I had Greg working with a couple of the guys building these dormers. And Greg was supposed to be cutting for them. The other two guys were each on a dormer, and they were supposed to be banging it together. And I come on up there, and I see the one guy just standing there, hasn't moved a bit. And I asked him, what's going on? He said, well, Greg, I'm waiting for Greg to show me what to do next. And he was up on the other dormer showing this other guy what to do. So I climbed up on that dormer, and I showed him what to do next. Got him to put the rafters on there. Showed him how to, I did 3 of them, showed him what to do, bouncing back and forth with them. And okay, you take care from there. I come back an hour and a half, 2 hours later, and here's the guy standing in the same place. And he hasn't done one single thing to finish putting, he has, and it's just little dormers. There's only about 6 rafters on each side. It wasn't that big of a deal, but he hadn't put up another rafter. And what you waiting for now? He said, I'm waiting for Greg to show me what to do next. So I get up there and I show him again. I put up a few more rafters. This is what you got to do. Finish it up. I come back about an hour before quitting time. He's in the same place again. Hasn't moved an inch. I said, what are you waiting for now? And he said, I'm waiting for Greg to show me what to do next. I just walked off. I went on over to the contractor on that job. I said, get rid of him. See, I wasn't a contractor at this time. This is before I got my contract, went into contracting. Well, the times in between contracting, actually, but that's another story. I went to the boss and I told him, I says, I don't want that guy on my crew. I don't want him at all. Get rid of his ass, fire him. I don't want him on my crew tomorrow. And he said, look, he says, this is only Wednesday. Keep him until Friday, and then when I give him his check, we'll get rid of him. Don't worry whether he works or not. Forget it. If he's not worth anything, don't waste your time with him. But just tolerate him until Friday, and we'll get rid of him then. I said, okay. Whatever it is, girl, you go get him. Ain't nobody here. So anyway, stir fry. You're breaking my concentration. So anyway, on Friday, quitting time and stuff, I'm rolling up my tools and stuff, getting ready to head on home, and here comes the big boss walking on down as I'm hopping in my truck, getting ready to drive on off. He says, hey, he says, Stan, wait a minute before you take off and leave. I got some questions to ask you. I'm firing this guy here, and he's saying that that's not fair because you never seen him work. And I said, that's right, I haven't. Blaine busted up laughing. Everybody around started busting up laughing. And it was true, I had never seen him work. And that was his argument. But anyway, okay, you can come back up here, girl. Let's see here. What's another construction story that I can tell you? Yeah, a lot of them are just too nasty to tell. You don't want to hear about the M80 and the toilet or anything like that. Um, I had this one guy who was contracting. Thought he was God's gift to framing and telling me how to do my job. That didn't go over too well. He that afternoon after work, late afternoon after work, we got all done rolling on up, and I went into the outhouse, and he hopped in his car to take off. I go in the outhouse, and he slams into the outhouse with me on in there. Fortunately, it didn't knock it over. Fortunately for me. But anyway, he slammed it in, caved in the door, and it wedged shut where I couldn't kick it on open, man. They had to, the other guys that worked for me, they had to take the saws on and cut it open. And anyway, the guy didn't show back up the next day. He waited until payday, Friday, to show back on up. And I had his check ready for him. You know, hey, I got to pay him for the hours that he worked. When he showed on up and he asked for his check, I said, oh, I got it right here. And I walked over to the outhouse, and it was pretty good and ripe. And I shoved that check can in there and took a stick and pushed it on in there, and I said, go get it. And I didn't cut him another one. Never heard anything more about from him. You know, that reminds me of another story. There's this one guy that was a young kid. Young kid. He was in his probably mid-20s. He was a few French fries short of the side order. I told him I couldn't use them anymore. I was laying them off. I told him I could cut him out a check at that time of a draw, and I'd send him his final check in the mail. Or he could wait, you know, and I was going to take his check and withhold, you know, what was it? Basically 50%, 40% or whatever from his check, you know, so to cover the payroll expenses. I said, or I can, you know, cut you the whole check and you can get it in the mail. He said, well, I want the money now. I said, okay, I'm just paying you, you know, as a draw, because I don't have the books here to do the stuff, you know, to know the exact amount. He wanted to argue about it for about 45 minutes, and I said, hey, it's not going to do any good to argue it. You either get a draw or you wait for me to mail you the check. You're not fired. You're being laid off. That means I don't even have to pay you until payday. I'm giving you the courtesy of giving you this draw today. He said, well, he just mailed me the check, and he goes stomping off. So, you know, this guy, he lived over on the coast. He lived 2 or 3 hours away. So when I wrote out his check, I did this on purpose. This is being a jerk, you know, but I did it on purpose. I wrote out the check for his amount, put it in the mail. I didn't sign it, and I mailed it to him. Well, he called me on up, and he says, Stan, he says, you didn't sign the check. I says, oh, shucks, I forgot. I says, well, to speed it up, why don't you, you know, fax the check to me, and I'll sign it, and then I'll fax it back to you. And he says, okay. Oh, man. Oh, there's some real smart cookies in this world. I don't know if I've told this story before, but this is what happened to me, why I'm in the way that I am today. This part of the reason. This isn't the whole story. But back in, I'm pretty sure it was in '79. We were building a retirement center. My dad was the the subcontractor on there, and actually we were all partnered up. I mean, it was a partnership. That was my dad and us boys. We was building a retirement center, and it was 3 stories on the back side, 2 stories on the front side. In other words, it was basically a daylight basement. And we was rolling the truss. And my brother Steve, he couldn't, we'd landed the truss, he was trying to slide a bundle of the truss off of another bundle so he could grab them and scatter them to roll them. And it was wet and rainy, and here in Oregon, the lumber gets a little film of moss, so it can get kind of slick. And he was trying to move that bundle of truss by himself, and my brother Steve's strong as an ox, I'll tell you what. I've never met anybody stronger than him. The guy is a beast. And he couldn't move that bundle of truss. So I went running across there to go help him on out to try to push that bundle off at his end. And when I got to the other end, that little film of moss over the lumber, my feet shot out from underneath me. And that was the side where it was 3 stories down. Well, when I was shooting off the side, I kind of spun around and I grabbed a hold of the top of the wall, to keep myself from falling, because I didn't want to go down 30 feet. I think it was actually 28 feet. It wasn't quite 30 feet. Anyway, I grabbed a hold of the wall. The problem was there was a window that was open right below me. So when I came down and grabbed the wall, my feet swung on in and my arms unhooked, and down I went. And I was fortunate because the day before there had been a pile of scrap lumber right down there, right where I landed. And they had cleaned that on up, so I didn't land on that pile of lumber. It would have been even worse. But it was nothing but mud down there where I did land. I wedged in pretty hard into that mud too. That's when I crushed my L5. And the odd part about it, the funny part about it was the plumbers, it was Jensen's Plumbing. They wore all these white jumpsuits, said Jensen's Plumbing on the back of them. It's wintertime, and all of us framers, we wore dark, warm, bundled up clothes, stay warm and stuff, and they were bundled up underneath the white suits too, but we was wearing dark clothes. And here's all my brothers and my dad, everybody lined up on one side, and here's the Jensen's Plumbing lined up in their white suits on the other side. I'm looking on up, and I'm like, it's the good angels against the bad angels, and they're going to decide who gets me, I mean, it's like, that's literally what went through my head. And my brother, Eugene, he was the one to grab me and throw me in the back of the truck and rush me to the hospital. And my brother Steve says, no, if you ain't doing that, we're calling the fire department. Well, the first ones there on the scene was the ambulance. And there was a guy and a gal that came on out there. And they had their rubber boots, the ambulance driver did, and attendant. They had rubber boots on. And they came tiptoeing through the mud like they didn't want to get the rubber boots dirty. And the paramedics, when they got there, they had their leather dress shoes on, all nice and shiny. And when they got there, they came plodding through the mud. And when the paramedics asked me what happened, this no joke, I mean, I was in a lot of pain. I was hurting bad. But when he asked me this, I was trying to be sarcastic. I wasn't trying to be funny. To me, it was like, it was obvious what happened. I mean, here's claw marks all the way down the side of this building where I've tried to grab onto whatever I can to prevent from falling. You know, I mean, claw marks all the way on down. And the paramedic asked me what happened. I told him I had a $5 bet with my brothers that I could fly, and I lost. That job went for a while after, and they had the 1980 Summer Olympics, and somebody wrote on in there, in the outhouse, my high dive score. I think I got on my high dive score like a 2.9. Landing, I got a 1.4. You know, just leave it to my brothers to give me such a high score, huh? Man, I sure do miss working with my dad back in those days. He taught us so much. Sure do miss that guy. He had a laugh that was so contagious that if he was in a room and he started laughing, people that didn't even know what was being said would start laughing just because my dad was laughing. That's the type of person he was. One time, my brother Steve's brother-in-law and we went on out and partied a little bit, smoked some hash. And my brother Steve, or my brother Steve's brother-in-law, he had some pretty good stuff. So we had a great time partying and stuff, and afterwards they go on home, and it's probably midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, I don't know what time it was. And my mom meets me, and at this time I was into motorcycle racing, desert, you know, riding and stuff, desert, and I wanted to, keep in good health, and stuff, and didn't believe in smoking or nothing. Whatever changed, I don't know. But anyway, I come on in, my mom smells that hash on me, and she accuses me of smoking cigarettes. Well, I wanted to put my mom at ease. I wanted her to know there is no way that I would touch those evil, filthy cigarettes. I mean, no siree, Mom. I wasn't smoking cigarettes, I was smoking hash. And I was thinking of this, that I was, going to appease my mom, that she'd be more understanding that I'd be smoking hash rather than cigarettes. I was not trying to be smart with her at all. That was just my high mind, it was my logic. Well, my dad thought that I was smart-mouthing my mom. Yeah, my dad was a great guy. He was easy to get along with and stuff. I mean, you could do anything you want to Dad, and he's not going to retaliate or nothing. But if you smart-mouth my mom, you do anything to, discredit her, anything at all, you've opened up a can of whoop-ass that you just don't want to contend with. Because my dad was a real gentleman, but he was a real badass too. Well, he come after me, thinking that I was smart-mouthing Mom when I told her I was smoking hash. It wasn't because I was smoking hash wasn't why he was coming after me. No, he understood, life and what kids do and stuff like that. He didn't like it. He would have sat me down and lectured me later on, which he did anyway. But he come unglued because he thought I was smart talking my mom. He picked up a baseball bat and he come after me. He had murder in his eyes. He was going to kill me. And I've seen what he can do to people. He is a real badass. Well, My mom would not let Dad get around her. And my dad's not going to hit her, shove her, or do anything. So, oh man, he was trying every way, which way he could to get around her. But anyway, finally made Dad leave the house. Well, Dad goes out to my car, and I had, I don't know, 2 or 3, 4 ounces of weed out in my car. He goes out in my car, and he knows that I got something illegal. He digs around, and I had an old Carmen Gia, and it was underneath the back seat of the Carmen Gia, where you got to flip the seat out and stuff, and he finds it. Next day at work, he's all over the deal where he don't want to kill me no more. We're at work, and everything's forgotten. But about break time, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, he comes up to me and says, "Stan," he says, "I found your stash in your car." I said, "Yep, Dad, I figured you had." He says, "Have you ever tried to flush, 3 or 4 or 5 ounces of weed down the toilet?" I said, "No, Dad, honestly, I haven't." He says, "Don't." He says, "I flushed and I flushed and I flushed, and it wouldn't go down, and all it'd do was just spin and spin and spin. I had to sit there and flush and flush." He says, "The more I flushed, the more paranoid I got." He said, "I just knew the cops were going to come and bust me with this stuff. And I kept on flushing and flushing and flushing, and the more I flushed, I knew the neighbors would come." He didn't even smoke the stuff, and he was getting paranoid. Oh, we had a good laugh about that. I had a great dad. But I know one time he was working on a apartment complex up in Beaverton, Oregon. We were living in Washington at this time. But the job was down in Beaverton, Oregon. And the general contractor hopped on the forklift when Dad was up on the roof, seeding the roof, and rolled the truck. I was just a kid. I was only about 10 or 11 years old when this happened. So I don't remember the exact details completely. But anyway, Dan brought the forklift on, and with the plywood lifted all the way on up. And it was a 2-story apartment complex. And when he drove it on in, Dad had already told him not to bring it on in. He would do it himself because he didn't want anybody in the building, because it sloped in at the back where he's bringing the sheeting up. The ground sloped down towards the building. So he raised the mast on up, then he drives on in, and he starts dropping over the hill. The mast starts leaning forward, and it tips the forklift forward, and it hit the wall and knocked the wall right out from underneath Dad. He went all the way down to the ground, 2 stories, 16, 18 feet. Landed on all fours, caught himself, took 2 steps, grabbed a hold of Dan Nevis by the throat with his left hand, just grabbed him by the throat, picked him on up, right hand, boom! Dan Nevis went into a somersault, landed flat on his back, and started flip-flopping like a chicken with his head cut off. He didn't even hit it. He was clear in midair when Dad punched him. That's what I'm saying. My dad is a badass. He could handle himself. I'm sure my brothers have a lot more stories that they could tell too about our dad. Well, y'all, I think this video has rambled on long enough telling you these stories. Maybe one of these days I'll make another one of these videos. If y'all like it, if I get enough comments saying, "Hey, yeah, we want to hear more of these stories," I'll do some more videos on it. But if I don't get enough, if I only get 1 or 2 comments on it, then we'll go on somewhere else. I just wanted to tell these stories. I thought it would be fun to tell. Plus, with me having a day where I can't get out and do much, I can't do anything right now, it just felt good to reminisce about the old days. Just remember, if the girls can't find you handy like me, they can sure find you handsome like me. And if they can't find you handsome like me, just pray that they find you. Y'all come back now, you know. Don't forget to give her a thumbs up.